Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free sugar cookies. This cookie recipe is really simple, but it is a little bit time-consuming. As you can see, not very many ingredients go into this at all. It's also in my cookbook. The reason it's time-consuming is once you make the dough, it does need to chill in the fridge. You could make this yesterday or even 2 days prior, or you could even make the dough and put it in the freezer, and then it's ready whenever you're ready. If you've had it in the fridge overnight, you'll want it to come not quite to room temperature, but you want it to stay firm, but you want it to be soft enough that you can roll it into shapes, if that's what you're doing with your sugar cookies. I'm going to mix my dry ingredients first. So in this bowl, I have 3 cups of my gluten-free flour, 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. All in here. And just mix this together. It really doesn't take much. And then in this bowl, I have 1 cup of butter. And it's pretty soft. A little bit softer than room temperature. And of course, you want everything else to be room temperature. And then we have 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2/3 cup of honey. And I'm just going to mix my butter and my honey together first. And you want your butter to be soft just like this. And just mix this honey and this butter till it's really combined. Once you've got that all mixed together, I'm going to add in 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then just give this a really good mix. I'm just going to scrape the sides down with my spatula. Make sure I've got it all mixed in. You could do this with a hand mixer or a stand mixer, but I prefer just to use my muscle. Now for our dry ingredients. I'm going to add in about half now, mix it really good, and then add in the other half. There's about half of my flour. Give this a really good mix. Scraping the bowl as you go. Now for the other half of our dry ingredients. And stir this till it's really, really combined. You don't want any dry pockets of flour. Make sure to scrape the sides and the bottom. So I've got 2 pieces of plastic wrap, and it is too soft right now to roll out into shapes. But once we firm it up in the fridge, and we'll use a little bit of extra flour for rolling out. So that will add a little bit of extra flour in as well. And I'm just going to eyeball equal amounts there. It doesn't really matter if it's exact. Sugar cookie dough is one of my favorites. So just wrap these up. But I like to flatten it out a little bit. It seems to firm up a little bit quicker. And this is a really simple sugar cookie. Nothing fancy. You could use almond extract in place of the vanilla extract, or a combination of both. Into the fridge for at least 2 hours. You want this to be firm enough that we can roll it out and cut it into shapes. And this is also the point where you could put this in the freezer and save it for next month or whenever you want to make sugar cookies again. Into the fridge. Preheat your oven to 375. And my dough is pretty firm. You noticed when you put it in the fridge how soft and flexible it was. But it is firmed up very nicely. And then I've got 2 cookie sheets lined with parchment paper. Some parchment paper here for rolling. Extra flour, rolling pin. Have my bowl scraper even though I don't have a bowl to scrape. That's alright. I've got some cookie cutters here. But you could just break off little bits and roll into balls, or use a cookie scoop and scoop them into balls, roll them in sugar if you're using sugar. But these make really good cutout cookies. And because Easter is coming and it's springtime, I have some Easter cookie cutters, and I also have some springtime cookie cutters. I've got some little flowers, butterflies, of course the bunny. I have a little chick. And then I have some mini cookie cutters. Also very similar, bunny, a little chick, butterflies, and flowers. I used to make sugar cookies for every holiday. So I have cookie cutters for every holiday. Even though I've got some Easter cookie cutters here, I don't have any egg-shaped cookie cutters, which is kind of funny because eggs are a big part of Easter. So just unwrap your dough from your plastic. And if at any time you feel like your dough is getting too soft, just stick it back in the fridge or the freezer to firm up a little bit more. And if you feel like your dough is too soft after you've cut it into shapes, you can also stick your whole cookie sheet in the freezer as well, or the fridge, just to firm it back up a little bit. And then just a little bit of flour. You don't want to work in a lot of extra flour into these cookies, but you don't want them to stick either. And if you feel like this much dough is too much to work with, just roll half of it at a time. And I usually knead it just a little bit. You notice once you start rolling it, it will start cracking at the edges. So just knead it a little bit. I know it sounds really contradictory to get it firm in the fridge just to manhandle it here. And keep it moving so it doesn't stick. Again, use enough flour that it doesn't stick, but not so much that your cookies will end up too dry. And this is also where you can choose how thick you want your cookies to be. Of course, thicker cookies take a little bit longer to bake. And it really is such a nice dough to work with. And again, you can go as thick or as thin as you want. And that's okay if it cracks like that. We'll just not cut out that part. Flour your cookie cutters if needed. And I always like using big cookie cutters and mini cookie cutters. And that's one thing I like about the mini cookie cutters is you can get a lot more cookies out of your dough without re-rolling it too many times. Cute little bunny heads. And then I have a little chick. And a little teeny tiny chick. And I'm just setting those aside because I will have one cookie sheet for the mini cookies and one cookie sheet for the big cookies. We'll do some little flowers. How cute are these? Little butterflies. So much fun. This is such a great activity for kids. Something you can do together. So there's my first cookie sheet. And the nice thing about mini cookies is you can fit more on the tray as well. And you don't want them too close together. The warmer they are, the more they spread. And my dough is still pretty chilled, even though we've already rolled some of it out. It's partly why I do a little bit at a time, just because it makes it easier and it stays chilled. So what I do is I'll break off another piece of my pretty chilled dough there and mix it with this already rolled dough. A little bit of flour as needed. And as with anything that you roll out, like this, or pie crust or something like that, you really want to make sure it's all the same thickness. My oven is ready. But if you have a cookie that you've cut out and it's not all the same thickness, one end will cook faster than the other and it might burn before the rest of the cookie is done. And then you also want this next batch that you've been rolling to be the same thickness as your other cookies. Again, so they all cook at the same rate as well. Oh, lost an ear. And if you get a lot of extra flour on your cookie, just brush it off. And just keep going until you get your cookie sheets full and you've used all your dough. My first 2 pans of cookies are ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put them both in at the same time, but these ones will cook a little bit faster because they're smaller. Those will bake for about 7 to 8 minutes. I always set my timer because I'm still rolling. I don't want to forget about the ones in the oven. You want them to be just golden brown around the edges, but if you notice that they're not quite done in the middle when you take them out of the oven, just let them sit here on the cookie sheet while you continue on. And then I've got everything over here cooling off on cooling racks. These are my last 2 pans of cookies to come out of the oven. I'm going to let that one sit on the cookie sheet for just a minute while the other one finishes baking. As you can see, I've got my buttercream started here. Don't forget about your other pan of cookies. As you can see, they're golden brown around the edges. I had some leftover dough that I shaped into eggs. They're pretty chubby and puffy, but that is just fine. And then you want to be very careful when transferring your cookies to your cookie sheet to not do this on the other cookie. And they are very fragile, so be very careful. And I've mentioned before, I think it was when I was making my gingerbread cookies. If you ever have a cookie cutter that you think is really cute and you think, oh, why don't I use that? And then you realize why you don't use it is because they always break. But this is the last of my cookies that need to cool off. I actually have the rest of my cookies over here. Once they were all cooled off, I just put them right back on the parchment paper for decorating. So those are just waiting to be decorated. I'm going to finish up with my buttercream. I've got 2 cups plus 2 tablespoons of softened butter that I've been whipping in here. And then this is my cooled egg and honey mixture that we'll add in slowly to make our buttercream. And then I do have some food coloring that we'll be coloring different colors to decorate our cookies. And I've showed you this buttercream before, so I'm giving you a very fast version of it today. It really makes such a nice buttercream. So I've divided up my frosting into 4 different bowls, and then I've got some in the big bowl here. You'll notice that my frosting is more of a pale yellow color instead of white. They won't be super white bunnies. In fact, I've got some black food coloring. I'm going to add a little bit into my buttercream, and it will make a nice gray for a gray bunny. But they're your bunnies. You can make them whatever color you want. And then I've just got some different colors here. You know, we've got some flowers and butterflies and bunnies and chickens, or little chicks. And so I've got yellow, orange, pink, green, and purple. And I've always noticed that having a little wooden spoon like this really helps you get that food coloring mixed around. So here's my yellow. So this is gel food coloring. I'll put a link below of what kind this is. So once you've got all of that color mixed in there, I'm using disposable piping bags today in a cup. And even though I didn't use my bowl scraper for the cookies, it comes in handy with the icing or frosting or buttercream. Once you start twisting and pushing it down, it really moves down to the end. And then you can open it up again if you need to and scrape it down some more. One of the things I like about these gel food colorings is they really give you a nice color. And they mix in so well. If you're familiar with your color wheel and colors, you'll know that certain colors mixed together will make a different color. And these gel food colorings, while I really like them and they do have really bold colors, my black that I was hoping would turn into a gray is actually turning into a not so pleasant green color. So we're gonna have greenish bunnies and that is just fine. But it actually works out okay because the leaves on my flowers will now be green because I didn't add any green in. But we could also have yellow bunnies. Or purple bunnies if you wanted a purple. What kid doesn't like funny colored sugar cookies? So I've got orange, yellow, and pink. But my purple color, there's my cookbooks. My purple is actually a really dark purple. Not exactly a springtime color. It's more of a Halloween purple. But you use what colorings you have and that's what you get. So there's my 4 colors. And then I've got my green that is supposed to be gray. And my Easter egg cookies, they're kind of the shape of an Easter egg, but that's all right. Most of my really cute little flower sugar cookie cutter, most of the stems broke off. And that's fine, and then you can just make them a big flower. And my cookies, they're little chubby cookies. And my poor bunny over here that had an accident. But let's start with the mini cookies first. And you'll notice that some of them are a little more cooked than the other ones, and that is just fine. And because I didn't put my greenish gray into a piping bag, we can just use my little spatula here. But be very gentle, because they are fragile. They're a little firmer after they've cooled off, but you still need to be careful. There. That's not too bad. We can give them a little pink nose and some pink ears. And because I don't have black or white, we could use the purple to make little eyes. And he might look like a rabbit bunny or a Halloween bunny, but that is okay. And because these are so little, I usually just do an outline and then fill in a little bit. Give him some little orange feet and a beak. And purple is going to be the eye color for all of these today. Give our butterfly a little body here. Here's one of our bunnies. That will be a greenish gray bunny. Ooh, very carefully. Definitely a Halloween bunny. Let's give him a little nose. And some pink ears. And once again, our purple eyes. Maybe we'll give this big one some whiskers. Still pretty cute. Here's one of our little chickens. We can give this one a little wing. Little chicken feet. If you had planned better, you would have a better color for eyes than purple, but this is just fine. And this will also be a Halloween tulip with our really greenish gray frosting. Not bad. Get one of our bigger flours here. It's a little lopsided. And now for one of our bigger butterflies. You can decorate these cookies however you want to. You could just do white frosting and just do sprinkles, or the sanding sugar that looks really nice that's different colors. Or you could use Halloween colors like I'm using today. But how cute and fun are these? These hold up so well in the fridge. In fact, you've noticed that they are holding together really well now. They're very soft when they come out of the oven, but they are a softer sugar cookie to begin with. I'll eat one of these little ones over here. And even though these ones are a little bit darker, they're still really soft. Not crunchy at all. And they really hold together well. This buttercream is so delicious. If you haven't made it yet, you should. It is so good. With these little tiny cookies, I usually just prefer to do an outline, and then they're just little bite-sized, not overwhelming with frosting. And you could use whatever buttercream that you like. And these cookies by themselves, they're not super sweet. So whatever frosting that you put on will change the flavor. Whatever colors you choose, whatever kind of buttercream you choose, these cookies are perfect for any holiday, any birthday party. So much fun to decorate with anybody. Even as an adult, I love to decorate cookies. But once you line them all up, you get the color choices that you want, and then you just assembly line it. You can really frost them very quickly. And like with anything, by your very last cookie that you're frosting, it's the one that looks the best. And then you look back at your first one and you think, I'm not sure who made that cookie. It couldn't have been me. But they sure are cute and so much fun. Let me know if you decide to make these cookies for your holiday or birthday or just for fun. Maybe you've already made them. They're in my cookbook. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.